Welcome to America Uncanceled. This is a special edition countdown to the midterms. And yes, Matt and I were out in Pennsylvania where we spoke to the Montgomery County Republican Club. I got to tell you, they are pumped up. They want Dr. Oz to win. They want Doug Mastriano to win and making sure that we can make Pennsylvania red again. Take a listen. Okay, so in Fetterman spirit, we're going to say hi, good night, everybody.
Sweetheart, are you for fracking?
I don't know. Maybe I am, or no, I might not be. I mean, seriously, how embarrassing. First of all, I want to say thank you to Liz. I mean, you're amazing to watch. We always thought your sister was complete rock star, and then we met you. But then we meet your dad, too, so this is pretty remarkable. It's great. So thank you for your sacrifice, and thank you all for being here, because I know this is a very busy time, but it's really important to come together as a family and really know that you're not alone. You're not alone in this battle to save America, but I know we're going to go into questions here in a little bit because we thought it'd be fun to have Alexandra quiz us. Maybe we'll do a debate. It'll be like Mrs. Schlapp versus Mr. Schlapp. This could be a lot of fun.
I often think when I walk our city streets, especially in Washington, D.C., with double-digit increases in murder, violent crime, ever since they scrawled the words Black Lives Matter in front of the White House, and they started to say that cops were bad. I've often said, doesn't it make so much sense if the Democrats look at all that and say, I know, I have a policy solution. Let's legalize all drugs. Look at your lieutenant governor, or whatever you refer to him as.
We call him Shrek sometimes.
The idea that's, you just listening to him, that the idea we want to legalize drugs seems insane. And I feel like we're in an insane moment. Do any of you feel like you're in an insane moment? And don't worry, because there's another Dr. Oz who's awfully impressive too, Oliver. Wow, that was really impressive. That's hard to do. I just want to say the one story. We're totally, Mercy and I are 1,000% behind Doug Mastriano and 1,000% behind Dr. Oz. I just want you all to know Dr. Oz is a rare politician. He called us and said, can I take you to breakfast? And he took us to the Royal Restaurant, which is kind of legendary in Alexandria. And he did something that Donald Trump did. He asked questions and he didn't talk. He listened. And I was like, well, this is going to be an unusual lunch, because politicians always meet with you and talk the whole time so much that you're like, I think I got to get out of here. My ears are going to bleed pretty soon. And the other thing he did is, he's a famous guy, but he was so nice to everybody. I mean, people were pouring out of the kitchen. The kitchen helped everybody wanted to meet Dr. Oz. I think it's exactly what we need in our politics today. So God bless your dad for running. You want to start?
Who's going to go?
So I just have to, one point of privilege here. Thank you to my sister for all of her hard work and all the hard work of everybody in this room. These two people are the hardest working people. You can't imagine the phone calls, 2 o'clock in the morning, text messages, and they help everybody. They never say no. They travel all around the country. They're a young family. So thank you for all that you do for this party, for the country, and for conservatives.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I came here because of that chicken, and it was good. It was good chicken.
We were so hungry, we were just stuffing our faces the whole time because we were eating pretzels earlier, and and the travel doesn't stop. Matt's been in Georgia. He was in North Carolina, heading to Michigan, Arizona. We're hitting every single battleground state. But I like to say, Pennsylvania, it's the epicenter of this red wave. I am so convinced that we're going to make, at some point, whether it be in our generation or all those great conservative guys who started that club in your high school, we are going to make Pennsylvania red again. It will happen in our lifetime, I promise you. Because the people are fed up, just fed up.
So let me ask the two of you this. With regards to Pennsylvania, you do make this long trip to come here. You're both coming back again soon. Talk to me about the way you see nationally Pennsylvania going. You say you think it can become red again. What do you think the steps are that we need to do? What should we be looking for?
Well, let me just start in Pennsylvania, because I'm the old person who's been doing this a long time, and as some of you will remember, Pennsylvania used to be in our camp, and then we lost it. And then the Republican Party said the reason why we're losing these states is because our message is too hard-edged, and our policies are offending people. So we have to soften them up. We have to put out a red carpet and tell people, I know you don't like a lot about the Republican Party, but we're still okay. It was a bad strategy. And what we're starting to do now, I think a lot better, is to tell people what we stand for. And to tell them, we're gonna die for those principles. We're gonna stand up for those principles. We're not gonna back down on those principles. Now, that doesn't mean we're not tolerant and accepting of people with different viewpoints. I would make a pretty good wager. I could get real rich tonight by guessing that from table to table we have disagreements. Probably disagreements on some important issues. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about this. Our country has a virus, and it's not COVID. We have a virus called self-loathing. We're teaching our kids to hate our country. We're teaching our kids to hate and disrespect our parents. We're teaching our kids to believe that God's an old-fashioned value. America is under attack by a virus that wants to undermine her. And I think that we all get it. And we've woken up from our slumber and our stupor. And I think Pennsylvania is going to lead the way. You've been on the bus tour here, Women for Trump. I came out here on a lot of we didn't call it Guys for Trump because that sounded weird, so it was whatever that other name was. But
I'm glad we still have genders. I think that's a really good place to start. And I have to tell you, I spent so much time in Pennsylvania. We should have just bought a house out here because I think I was out here most of the time. In fact, I was in the same room here with Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who will be the next governor of Arkansas, and Ivanka Trump as well. So I just walked in, I was like, wait a second, I have been here before. And what I find and what I loved about the people of Pennsylvania is that it was I know they talk about the Midwest as like the heartland of America, but I felt like it was the heartland of America. I mean, just think about the incredible history of this state, and to know that this is where we have to bring it back, this renewal for America, this restoring the soul of America. And it starts, I really believe, with the fact that I know we're talking about the economy, and the economy is horrible, and it's putting so much pressure on families across the board, but it is these cultural issues. It is the fact that you have these schools and these leftists pushing sex changes at the age of 5 or 6, that they are normalizing the use of puberty blockers for our children. This is disgusting. And it is where we have to stop. And what I have seen is that parents, the ones that didn't want to get involved in politics,
right,
have had to rise up. And I've seen that so much here in Pennsylvania, where moms have said, I've never done this political thing before, but I'm going to get active, and I'm going to make sure we make a difference in our local school boards. So I really think it's going to be these local school boards. It's going to be these tough races. I'm Christian, you're so brave to run. It is tough, but God bless you for doing it. Because it might take time. But I think we have to make sure, I do feel great hope with the Senate race, with this gubernatorial race, which we should not give up on in any way, because I do think that we can definitely turn Pennsylvania in the right direction. I think Dr. Oz is in a very strong position. We should not give up on Mastriano. We have to keep working on making sure people realize that Josh Shapiro is an authoritarian leader in Pennsylvania and should be stopped.
Can I say one thing else? So just demographically, Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, is trending. She's Cuban. You can't. We all got to. The paybacks for hell.
Bad.
I know. She's thinking. She's thinking in Spanish right now. She's going to get me.
Right.
The fact is that you all know demographically you're trending, and we all know that anybody who loves a cop, loves somebody in the military, loves a teacher, right, wants the best for their granddaughter, their grandson. Very hard to vote for a Democrat. These Democrats, right? The old-fashioned Democrats you could understand. They're all my whole family, right? But that doesn't. My mom was a pro-life Democrat. There's no such thing anymore. These Democrats are full-on socialists, and so I just want you to think about something. There's a big red wave. Anybody who tells you there's not is lying to you. They're telling you that it's not a big red wave because they want to discourage you, so don't listen to them. That's the first thing. Where were the epicenter of all the violence in our country? No, not the one they like to talk about on January 6th, not the one Liz Cheney got What did she get, like 13 votes by the time she got done, like talking about January 6th so much we just couldn't stand it anymore? By the way, if we have to do some protesting to stand up for voter ID, sign me up. I'm going to be right there. I think we have to stand up for voter ID. But you don't get to choose which laws you follow or don't follow. We don't get to do that. We have to follow every law. They get to pick and choose. That has to stop in this country, so we're not going to have a country. But think about where the violence was in our country. 24 dead people, more harm done to property than we have with any natural disaster, right? Portland, Seattle, Minnesota, Minneapolis, New York City. That is strange. Nobody writes this in an article. What governor's races are all tied? Oregon, Washington, Minnesota. I was sitting at the table. Everyone in Minnesota said we can't win that race. The RGA just announced they're going in because the race is tied. Lee Zeldin in New York. Why is it where they did the most harm and it is the least Republican? How is it all those races are now tied where the Republicans have a slight edge? You know why? Americans still love America and we're going to defend her. So don't let them discourage you or lie to you. This is going to be a big wave and Pennsylvania's going to lead the way.
These are the hardest working people in Montgomery County. So what would you say is the difference between our waiting for Doug Mastriano and for Dr. Oz between now and Election Day? What can everybody specifically do?
Well,
in addition to all the stuff they're already doing, but what would you say, because you guys are the best grassroots activists and big global leaders with all your CPAC everywhere around the world.
We are not globalists.
no, not globally.
Let's talk about that.
First of all, thank you for what you all are doing.
Yeah.
And what I recommend is just don't sleep. Don't sleep now till Election Day. And like Liz says, it is about getting involved as much as possible, whether being a precinct captain, whether knocking on doors, whether it's making phone calls. Reach those people that you might think maybe they are a Democrat, but let me go talk to them and let me explain to them why. And it's really presenting, it's out of love. We have to do it out of love and just state the facts. And the more we stick to the facts, the more we can get there. Obviously, when we're on TV and we're doing our stuff, they don't listen to us. They listen to you. They trust you. And it's making sure, as Oliver's mentioned, that day, get them out to vote. If they need to vote early, make sure they're voting early. Get out there sooner rather than later. Because what I'm hearing, and this was just reported, breaking news, of course, the Secretary of State said there will be delays in this election.
Tonight.
I mean, foreign countries can determine an election in one day, and here in Pennsylvania, it's going to take, quote unquote, there'll be delays. I mean, it's an outrage, and we really have to push against the Secretary of State to be like, wait a second here. We need to make sure every legal vote is casted and that we have the result of the election as soon as possible.
I just have to let you know that I have like the world's greatest wife, and when we get up in the morning and we start getting ready, this is how our conversations go. What are we going to do? What do we need to tell them?
So then I tell Matt, first of all, say a Hail Mary before you go to put out a tweet. That's always my first thing, because if he puts out a tweet that's really controversial, then I have to bear the brunt of all the press calling me, and then I have to call Alexandra and be like, can you help make sure my husband doesn't get that much of a bad story? That's the story of my life, okay?
She says say a Hail Mary, and I just do hail. And that doesn't always work out so well, by the way. I have had to delete a few tweets. But I would say, specifically, turn off your television. That television is being used, no offense to Comcast. That television is being used to propagate more lies than has ever happened in a free country on the face of this earth. Turn it off. When you turn it on, be very selective in what you're watching. For the Lord's sake, do not let your kids be polluted by the rot that is on our television. So turn off your TV. The second thing is, pray for America and for each other. Pray for our country. I think God made America for a very special reason. I think we are God blessed. I think all of you were put on this earth right now for a reason. I know in my case, I'm going to say humbly that reason is to help save this country. I hope you feel the same way. Please go do it. And the third thing is, everyone talks about being a poll watcher and everything else. I am old and was on the 2000 recount in Florida. I have been trained by the best lawyers who now go on TV and say, Donald Trump is lying about all the fraud. I went to Nevada and saw it firsthand. I just want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, if you will burn down cities and shoot cops, what's a little voter fraud? It's a small little, it's like a venial sin, as we would say. And so don't put it past them. So I would say do more than be a poll watcher. Get in those count rooms. Take the $10 an hour job. Sign up for the temp job. Take your cell phone with you. Defend this country. You know, the Minutemen did it with their muskets and everything else. We have to do it with our cell phones and our mouth and our Twitter. And the country's in the balance, folks. If they are able to take one or two races here or there because of a different 40,000 votes, which is what separated Donald Trump from Joe Biden at the end of the day, 40,000 votes. They can do that again and prevent a Senate majority. They can pack the court, right? And they can do all kinds of other dubious things as Joe Biden uses his pen and his phone to change the course of America. The Republican Party has a bad track record of pulling back on that when we get power. This is what it's coming down to is this election. Turn off the TV. Pray for the country. Get in those count rooms. Get scrappy. Make them have to hold the line on following the law. And let's go save our country together.
Somebody said, the commentator said today, that Fetterman is so disturbing that Democrats will run someone like this who's so unqualified. And that's how power hungry they are. You travel around the country. What have you seen in race after race, from Kari Lake to Ron Johnson to, of course, the Lee Zeldin Hochul debate? What are you seeing when you're out there?
Well, what I can't understand is how scared Josh Shapiro is of debating Doug Mastriano. Seriously. The people of Pennsylvania deserve to hear from both candidates. And I actually think it should be a requirement for anyone who runs. And you're seeing Katie Hobbs out in Arizona, petrified of Kari Lake. By the way, Kari Lake is a superstar in our party right now. If you want to learn how to talk about election integrity, if you want to learn how to push back on all these policy issues, that's the only TV we're going to allow you to watch, okay? It's like, watch her, watch Dr. Oz. These guys know how to talk about the issues in a way that's optimistic and strong and really empowers people to say, wait a second, we're going to make sure we win this country back. I do think that what I've seen is there is definitely a sense, I think, of people feeling that they've been silenced for so long. If you were a Trump supporter, you couldn't even put your hat on, many cases, or put a sign up because you'd be bullied or your kids would be bullied, or, I mean, the list would go on, and people would live very afraid. And I think finally what you're seeing are these Trump candidates. They're not your typical Republicans. They are the fighters. They are the ones who are not going to be silent. And I think people are saying, yes, these people represent me. And to Trump's credit, he understood early on who these people were going to be, that were going to go into Washington, disrupt Washington, while at the same time stop this radicalized agenda. And there has been an awakening in this party. And I think you're seeing, and I've done Hispanic outreach for a really long time, you're seeing more Hispanics, not Latinx, because that's not a word in the Spanish language, more Hispanics move over to the Republican side. Why? Because they're pro-life, pro-family, pro-America. And you see even independent women saying, and parents saying, they're swing voters, and they're saying, wait a second here, the Democrats have gone way too far in all these issues. And that's why you're seeing this shift. And it really started with Donald Trump, who understood the plight of the working people. And I think that that's been an important message. While you have the Democrats being the globalists and the extremists, and then you have the women on The View. Can I just tell you how annoying they are? They drive me crazy. They should be, seriously, they drive me crazy that then they go after, they literally like protect Fetterman, but then they attack DeSantis by saying he had a stroke, and then they go after all these other candidates are Republicans. Why? They hate Trump so much, and they hate anyone associated with Trump, that they will always try to destroy any of us associated with Trump. And what we need to do is say, you don't matter. Because at the end of the day, we know that we stand on the side of truth. We know that we stand on the side of defending this great country. And we know what it takes to build a strong, strong America. And that's what we're all going to focus on. And guess what? We have God on our side as well. That I'm convinced of.
I'll say quickly, there's a Senate race in New Hampshire that's coming on. A couple of polls, one showed a tie, one showed the Republican down 2. This is a candidate who DC Republicans spent millions of dollars against. We can win in New Hampshire. You look at this race that's going on in Washington, that's another race against Patty Murray. She used to call herself the mom in tennis shoes. And now we have a new mom in tennis shoes that wants to take her out. And that race looks really tight. And I just say this, shame on DC Republicans for not investing in these races.
Right.
CPAC is going to invest in these races. You know, I don't care who someone's going to vote for leader. I want to save the country. We'll pick a leader. The leader will be fine. But let's get every seat we can. You know, Democrats understand that, and they fight hard, and they get every seat they can, and their majorities can swell, and sometimes Republicans are their own worst enemies, and I know I'm speaking to a room of them, and I'm a proud one. But we got to win every one of these races. We got to put our personal interests aside, and we got to save this country. And I'm just going to tell you, I think we're going to win that race in New Hampshire. By the way, I think Blake Matthews is going to win in Arizona. And having gotten zero money from a lot of these big guys in Washington, I think they're going to be pretty angry when they get to Washington. So I think that's all good.
I was going to ask you about the new effort that you have started. These two are two of the most accomplished strategists and PR experts and communications experts in the country. You worked with
Except for my Twitter.
Exactly right. You worked with top CEOs. You both basically gave up your business and do CPAC basically full time. You're taking it all around the world, all around the country. I mean, it's the sacrifice that you're doing is amazing. And you have this new effort now with vis-a-vis corporate America. Can you talk about that?
Why don't you do it?
Yeah, so I will say I'll let you speak about the taking CPAC around the world, but we had CPAC Israel, which was pretty amazing. We were able to bring our 5 girls with us. We brought a whole bunch of Americans with us, and it was 3,000 people in a ballroom. And these great speakers, and you have to pinch myself when we do that. I went to CPAC Australia, where the government was basically a center-right government, like the Republican Party of America, was kicked out of office because they were compromised. They went along with all the lockdowns. They went along with all the vaccine mandates and got kicked out of office. And it was wonderful to be a part of this grassroots activism that happened partly because of the voice of CPAC. We're going to go to Mexico. And we're going to go to Japan to finish out the year. But I would just say on the corporate piece, folks, the corporations are never going to change if all of us play patty cake with them. The left doesn't play patty cake with them. They say if you don't sign this letter for 9 months of abortion, if you don't sign this letter saying we have to move the All-Star game out of Atlanta, or if you don't sign this letter that says that Stacey Abrams is right to push illegal voting, we're going to call you racist and we're going to come after you. And what we've now seen with these towers of jello in our corporate offices and the C-suites is they sign every time. Almost every company signs every time. And when they sign these letters, they're ripping us apart. Great American brands, Walmart, 9 months of abortion. Delta, Coca-Cola, no All-Star game in their own hometown, where small businesses literally went bankrupt because they ripped that game out of Atlanta. This is happening on every issue you care about. Think about the Green New Deal. People will die this winter because our grid is so unsafe now because we've riddled it with energy that is not reliable and people can't afford. And Europe's going to have the same problem. They're literally ripping us apart. So what we believe at CPAC is that it's our job. We should take their money. They used to like us because we're for low taxes. We're for stable regulation. None of that matters anymore. Now it's about getting in the side of my 5-year-old. And trying to pollute their thoughts. And if we don't get the corporations back to neutral, we'll never, ever get the country back. It starts with the corporations, and quite honestly, it moves right to professional sports. They all have to go back to neutral. And my urging to these Republicans who are running for office is don't meet with them, don't meet with the CEO, don't do their bidding. They are funding Planned Parenthood, they are funding Black Lives Matter, they are funding all the campaigns against all the good candidates that would actually lower taxes and create a business environment that would allow their companies to grow. This is a gross abridgment of their fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders. And they are breaking that fiduciary responsibility, which I believe is a crime, right? And they are also going against the political values of many of their employees and many of their customers. And this has to stop, and I hope you'll help us push that message.
And we just quickly want to invite you all to join us at CPAC. We're going to have a big victorious party. That's what I'm feeling. That's going to be the first weekend of March. We'd love for you all to come. It's actually going to be in D.C., or actually in Maryland, in the Gaylord Hotel. We'd love to have you all come. If you haven't come to CPAC, Alexandra can tell you it pretty much like changes your life. You think it's thousands of people in there that you get to network and meet from all over the country who are also doing the great work like you all are doing as well. And I got to tell you, one thing we've learned in these international CPACs, we've had over 36 countries come to us and say, we want what you do in America. We want you to come to our country. Because why? They love freedom.
Yeah.
They know that if America falls, the world suffers. And it's why it's so important that we all play this role that we have to do right now to make sure that we save this country. And from the bottom of our hearts, believe me, we're not going to stop. We're training our children to do the same thing. Our oldest girl started her conservative club at the high school as well. And I will tell you, talk to your kids, talk to your grandkids, teach them about this great history, about this great country, why you're doing what you're doing. To make sure that we're able to get these great candidates into office and really influence policy and make a change.
Who wants CPAC to come to Philadelphia?
Yeah, we gotta do that.